Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 1 of Eat the Rich, a Zweihander, grim and perilous role-playing game campaign. That long pause at the beginning there, everybody, was me waiting for the scene to change. We all had this like, let's just be very quiet and awkwardly wait for. Okay, Adam's talking now. Hi, hello, hello, welcome. All we have characters now. The characters have names.
Holy
I'm
shit.
so excited. It's gonna be great. But I'm coming right from, as Blue Jay is, right from another RPG show. So let's take a minute and get caught up with everybody, so that I can get on the peril train. Masood, how have you been?
I have been really busy this past week, but thankfully I had like a night off last night and I got to do nothing but lay in my bed and be at my laptop.
That sounds so great.
Oh, just wonderful. Other than that, just, run around the city. Oh, I had an audition today.
Oh, sick.
Did not go well.
Aww.
Which is also like comforting. Like walking around, it's like, that was not a good audition. Well, get him next time.
It's definitely better to feel like you understand why a thing went bad than to go like, that was great, I'm awesome. And then later someone be like, hello, is this Masood? Yes, I'm just calling to tell you you're not awesome. Thank you. Goodbye.
Right. Definitely had no chance at ever being awesome at that thing.
Yeah.
Honestly, like when I used to audition for things, it is actually better to have no hope whatsoever
Oh, absolutely.
than to like be clinging to like, maybe I got it. They haven't called me and it's been like a week, but maybe it could still be a thing. It's been like a month, but it could still come in. It's better to just know it's not happening.
I feel like that attitude could be both in and out of character. Like that's a very Zweihander attitude. It's better to just have no hope whatsoever.
Yep. Yeah.
Cast aside weakness like hope or joy.
That's right.
Nope.
It's not going to
Put on your
here.
skull-shaped helmet, cover yourself in blood. Let's go.
Nihilism is the only way, folks. Come on.
Well, it sounds like we have a very cohesive cast
Yes.
right now.
Yeah.
Well, until the yogurt comes down from the mountain.
Well, she's been down here for a while and has been with humanity, so we know what that means. Nihilism as well.
How is Amber? How is what I am going to call Operation Goblin going? Because I saw some great goblin art. Please tell me about your goblins.
I love drawing it. I love food and I love eating and I love goblins. So I'm connecting the two and drawing people as goblins with their favorite food. And so it's been doing good. Got some good commissions already. Several of them.
Good. That one you did of Hidil was so good.
Oh, they're the cupcakes. Yeah. I love it.
If we don't get an Adam goblin eating ramen, then
that's on my.
I'm gonna get in there. Yep.
I'm like, that has to happen. I don't even know what I would consider my favorite food at this moment, but I'll think about it.
Listen, I'm already short. I understand that life is cheap, and I love eating things, so I'm good to go. I'm ready. I'm ready to become a goblin. That's a fun project. So if people want to go and become a goblin, they should just hit you up on Twitter. Is that the plan, or do you have like a website?
Yeah, Twitter.
Becomeagoblin.com.
I think it was your coffee, right?
Yeah, my coffee does it. I also there's like a pit. I should probably pin a tweet sometime. I don't know, but
I would recommend, as an outsider, giving Amber at least 3 times the amount of money she's asking for. Because $9 is not enough. Just please,
just for a little
me,
tiny goblin.
Just for me, please give Amber more than that.
Thank you, Blue Jay, for valuing my time.
I do.
Someone's got to do it.
Yeah, right. Because there's like actual value of artistic time and work. And then there's what artists charge for it. And then down here somewhere is what people think art is worth. Unless it's like, like
Not
a banana,
me.
unless it's a banana taped to a wall. And then that's worth a lot of money.
Well,
That was money laundering, Adam.
Yeah, you get ratioed pretty hard with the bananas taped to walls.
It's a banana. What could it be? $10?
Yeah. That's what I love about art, is that it's both totally bullshit and not at all bullshit, no matter how hard you try.
Yeah.
Like it's both at once, all the time. It's great.
Why didn't that guy make a real work of art, like a urinal that is signed by an artist?
Yeah, or a picture of some soup,
Absolutely.
which is definitely more art. Or like, why didn't he just take a rock and hit it with a hammer a couple of times until it looked like something that wasn't a rock? Why didn't he just do that?
Or
That
like,
is so
what about
fucking hard to do?
actual
It really
soup?
is.
I would say making real soup is also art,
Right? Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
depending on the soup.
Yes.
I am really excited that in that particular case, someone made that banana and they taped it to a wall. Somebody bought it and then somebody immediately took the banana and ate it and was like, this is also art. I'm eating your stupid banana. And everybody just threw money at each other. I don't know what art galleries are like.
It's honestly money laundering. Or that one time when Banksy like hung a piece of art and then during its first, like when it was first revealed, it just shredded itself.
Mm-hmm. At its first auction when someone was trying to buy it.
Was
and
that
then I
when?
bet someone, yeah. And then I bet that like someone bought those shredded remains for also an exorbitant price of money.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
Yeah, it actually made it worth more that it destroyed itself.
Art is amazing and ridiculous. And
Let's
I love
make
it.
some.
Yeah, I love it. It's great. So I know I was really excited at the beginning of the last show. I told everybody it was really exciting to have an opportunity to play a role playing game with Andrew again. But I was not nearly as excited as apparently the entire internet. It made me very, very happy to see that basically all the comments on the episode 0 was just like screaming Andrew fans, which made me very, very happy.
I only made people wait 2 years.
Yeah, it's perfect. That's it. That's how
I wanted to remind everyone who was saying, oh my God, Andrew's back. Oh my God. Like, you've been on Twitter for most of the time. And also, making content on your own channel a good amount of time too. So, like, you could follow Andrew on their own
I wasn't
stuff.
here. I wasn't here.
Yeah, doing specific contextual stuff. I saw you were playing. Were you playing Path of Exile earlier, or was
playing
I
some games?
Was I
Has
hallucinating
Andrew
about
ever
that?
not been playing Path of Exile?
It's a good ass game. Okay,
Mhm.
y'all don't even know.
So no, this is the thing. So I have to understand this because sometimes I get caught in between like Dan and JP or like Marcus and JP talking about it, and I'm like, I don't. But how is the current season of it? Is it good? I've heard some mixed.
I
things.
like it.
Yeah,
I like it. There was as is typical with this kind of thing, they had a little bit of like stability issues.
Yeah.
At the outset because they're releasing lots of stuff all the time, and it's just like the game always has some growing pains. But
yeah,
I've been enjoying it. I've been enjoying it the last couple of weeks quite a bit.
that's cool. Yeah, I think the last time that I played it was that time that you tried to show me how to play it.
I remember.
It's a hard game to get into.
Yeah, like I could.
is the thing.
I feel this way about a lot of like role playing games and board games and video games where I just like, I get it. Like I get that it's a good game, but I also am like, it's a good game that I will never play again because the ways it's like Destiny or Warframe. Like I'm like the ways in which this is good do not appeal to me in any way, but I like watching other people who know things about it and who are good at it play.
I mean, that's the cool thing about being alive in a time where there's so much to consume, for lack of a better word. That's fine. You can not like things and other people can like them. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
true.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's very true. Yeah. Blue Jay, how about you? You been up to anything cool? What are you doing? You got a tuxedo.
I did. I got a tuxedo. It's pretty exciting. I had to order a larger size jacket because of my breasts. But that's one of the things, like suit jackets aren't necessarily made for busty people. And I discovered that. So, paying a little more money, but what can you do? It's really sweet. It's got like the shiny lapels. Unfortunately, they were out of the cummerbunds. So I'm going to try and discover for myself a cool vest somewhere, maybe.
Do you think that there is out there somewhere a shop that sells cummerbunds exclusively and it's run by a guy named Benedict? Do you think there's a Benedict's cummerbunds out there somewhere?
He sells them in
God, I hope
batches.
so. I fucking hope so. I'm going to find it.
He also makes eggs Benedict in the morning as you go and do your shopping.
Cummerbunds Benedict. Oh man.
Brunch cummerbuns.
I love it. I love it. It's a brunch joint, but you can also get part of a tuxedo, not the whole thing, just the middle bit,
Very niche.
just the belt of giant strength.
Yeah. So that happened. Yes. I also have like a chrome bodysuit that I got in. So I'm turning into a robot. Lots of exciting things. I think it was food poisoning that I had yesterday, like a light dusting of food poisoning, but that's gone now, thankfully.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been watching a lot of The Expanse, playing a lot of role-playing games. I built a tiny home in The Sims, and then I filled
nice.
it with stray dogs and cats and elemental creatures.
Have you ever seen that show Tiny Home Nation?
I've heard of it, but I've never watched it.
I like looking at the houses. I just don't think people really understand what they're getting into when they go into a tiny home, because it's always like, we're getting this tiny home and I have a baby grand piano and 5,000 records that I'm not willing to get rid of, but make me this 400 square foot house.
My God. Me and my
It's drives me
700
crazy.
pop figures are going to go into this tiny home.
All my Nintendos, where are they gonna go? I can't get rid of them.
Yeah, no, I just do it on The Sims where it gives you like 17 cool buffs because your house is so small. Like, because my house is so small, I can learn things twice as fast. I don't know why that makes any
No
sense. at all.
distraction, right? No
but-
distraction. If you don't have a kitchen, you don't have to clean it.
I mean, you
Therefore, I
say
can
no
learn
dis-
Japanese.
I mean, you say no distraction, but I
finally.
also made the lot a stray cat and stray dog hangout. So there's at least 12 animals on it at all times. And it's pretty much the best game of The Sims I've ever played.
Oh my god.
I don't have a job because
I was about to ask.
I
Yeah.
don't have time to do anything but take care of these animals. But I gain money by gardening, which you can also do a lot better on a tiny house. And just going out and scavenging for berries and mushrooms. So,
Good. That sounds great.
I mean,
dream.
it's my druid character, so
Yeah.
it makes sense. This
Right.
whole lifestyle. I'm glad I could translate it to The Sims. You know.
Yeah.
You can actually mod The Sims so that you can grow weed. That's the thing that you
Oh.
can do.
I mean, we're not that far off from Maxis just straight up releasing like an official grow
I think it
up
would have
and
to be-
brewery pack. Like,
I think it would have to be legal federally before they'd be able
that's what I'm
to do
saying.
that.
Yeah. Like, it's only a matter of time. Yeah. Before that's just a thing that your Sims can do. And it would be
Yeah,
like
Adam.
sponsored by Anheuser-Busch.
I mean, one of the really cool things about The Sims is that a really long time ago, they made it so that they still have a fairly like binary type of gender where it's either masculine or feminine.
Oh, yeah.
But any sim can present as one. They can be impregnated or make other people pregnant and still be a woman or a man. They can you can choose how they go to the bathroom, and then you can also they're attracted to literally anyone. Like, that's under your control.
In the
so,
Sims
like-
universe, there's only one sexuality, and that's everything.
I mean, you're God, and you can say, no, you're going to be attracted to this person because you're God.
I
you
am
know?
going to remember that the next time that a religious person harasses me for being gay. I'm going to be like, listen, your God made me do it.
What am
That's
I
how it
supposed to
goes.
do? Just to deny him?
The interface is really easy to find. They wouldn't just fuck it up,
Yeah.
it's not an error.
No, but The
Exactly.
Sims is actually really, really cool about allowing you to have differing genders and presentations,
Right.
and you can wear any kind of clothes. It's pretty nice.
So weed is soon to follow.
That's right. Exactly. And that's how it works
I would say
on the
that's,
the great slippery slope that is life. First you get the gays, then the drugs, and then pretty soon Satan walks the earth. And
Is there any kind of Satan? There's the Grim Reaper, and you can date him.
Right.
good. The Sims is very different than I remember it being. Congratulations. I'm confused now.
Weren't you always?
Yeah, maybe a little. So let's talk about. There's a couple of quick mechanical things I want to discuss before we get into the realness till we begin the actual episode. So, y'all had some points to spend at the end of the last bit. So did everybody get around to doing that? Spent your advance points. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So mostly then it'll be bonuses to CB and BB and THC and whatever. And then some of them are going to be skill ranks, right? So we'll see that in the rolls as we go. Did anybody take any talents?
I did.
Yeah?
I took 2.
Nice. What talents did you take?
I took Silver Tongue and Worldly.
Okay.
And let me pull up Silver Tongue.
Yeah. Let me know what those do.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about corruption and we'll talk about fortune points and then we'll get started.
Mhm.
I have mine as well.
Yeah. What did you take?
I took Incredible Numeration and Menacing Demeanor. Incredible Numeration, when counting or cheating, I gain a
Mhm.
plus 10 base chance to skill tests. I also have Gamble, so that's useful. And menacing demeanor is when I succeed at an intimidate test, I inflict 1d10 plus 1 mental peril.
Oh, okay. So you're a scary puncher.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, that's cool. All right.
And I'm really good at numbers.
Good at numbers. Now, when it says cheating, does it specify cheating at what, or just like generally?
It just says counting or cheating.
Right.
Count.
I
So-
assume
cheating.
because it's about being good at numbers that it means cheating in gaming. But I can look
Right,
that
not
up.
like stepping out on
Romantically-
your man.
Well, what if it's like Mambo number 5? Like there's so many on the circle. That you have to keep
right. I
track
have
of.
to keep count of my lovers.
All the
Mhm,
digits,
mhm.
right?
Yeah, you got. That's right.
Remember all the
Exactly.
phone numbers.
I have
Great.
henchmen in the various area codes of this kingdom.
I have to keep track of all the area codes.
Of course.
Well, the
Okay.
idea
All right.
the idea being that the racketeer has like stuff in like intelligence and education and etc.
Yeah, well, because you are running a business, and so have to do that. It's just,
Mhm.
yeah. Okay.
I'm good with numbers and I can gamble, so I'm hoping to be able to make some money.
Okay.
Nice.
So I'll leave it to you to remember when you conditionally get those effects when those things come up.
Of course.
Ender, did you take any talents for Vander?
I also have worldly.
Nice.
It's that
Nice.
when one is gossiping or spinning a tale, you get plus 20 base chance to rumor tests.
Nice.
Plus 20. Damn.
That's great.
It's pretty nice.
Okay. Yeah, rumors for both this. So in this case, it's when you're telling stories and like spreading rumors. And I love that there's a skill for that. I love it.
Yeah, Masood and I are just going to be horrible gossips.
There is no, but this is a thing.
Yes.
This is a thing that comes up a lot in games, especially games where you have like a clear enemy who you maybe can't go after like publicly or physically. Being able to poison the well against somebody is an important skill to have, especially in a backstabby kind of environment. So yeah, cool. Okay. And then Ember, did you take any for Dawn?
Yeah, I actually took all 3 that
Hot
was available
damn.
for me.
Heck yeah.
So secret signs, when you attempt to understand secret symbols, hand gestures, or signs left behind by others as a warning, you gain a plus 10 base chance to skill tests. Forked tongue, when you attempt to deceive someone of a social class other than your own, you gain a plus 20 base chance to guile tests. Yes.
That's cool.
And then I took blood magic, but I might try to reflavor it a little bit. I don't know yet where Dawn is going to go exactly, but this, after you have made the appropriate sacrifice of an innocent creature, a beloved animal for petty magic, a farm animal for lesser magic, or a living person for greater magic, you can cause any one foe to automatically fail to resist one cast magic spell within the next 24 hours.
Yes.
You can only
I
make a
would-
sacrifice like this once per day and will likely suffer corruption for such a heinous act.
I would totally love to help you with that sacrificing of innocence.
Okay.
I'm
so if you-
starting to think that maybe the ogres are less like a yoga cult and more like a goop situation. Is the high ogre Gwyneth Paltrow because
Oh my god! Oh no, maybe yeah. Well, actually, I think that works really well. I've got good ideas for.
You gotta rub that
Yeah.
ogre goop on you.
Oh god!
Put this magic witch stone.
It's
Yeah.
got
Well-
charcoal.
I mean, my men went there on session 0. I was like, oh
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, they sell witch stone eggs. What are you to do with them?
I think the true ogre message got lost in all of this, and yes,
Yeah,
the
It says
wealthy
that the-
ruling class is now profiting off of a good.
amazing.
Is that how you get the god inside you, Adam?
I think it might be. Yeah, and you put the witch stone egg inside and then just hold it in there until it hatches the god within.
The god within is a yeast infection.
I mean, worse
Oh,
than
no,
that.
no.
Witch stone is like chaos radiation, right? So it's like
Oh yeah.
it's like plutonium, but for evil.
Terrific.
So yeah,
Just shove that right in your veg.
maybe don't do that. If you come
No.
across a perfect egg made out of glowing green stone, maybe don't jam it into your parts.
That's
Not advisable to put rocks in your body.
Yeah, don't
generally
don't
because
do
they
it. Don't put
chemically
even if an
interact
ogre
with
tells you to. Don't do it.
Thank you for telling me. Honestly, was my first question was when I saw it was like, can I put this in my body? And now I know.
I was gonna
Thing
say
that came to mind, and
Let
now
me
I
get
know.
that.
this would also have been a great moment for a I have to be right back moment and just excuse me a second, and then if you had like something you could drop loudly into
Yeah,
the toilet,
clonk.
then you're good to go.
Just BRB bio and you
One second.
do
Yeah,
so.
I just have to go remove my witch stone egg.
Uh,
Brilliant.
Mhm.
Oh Lord.
Yep.
Okay. Blood magic.
And then Masood, you took a
I
talent.
finally found it. Yeah, I found. So I grabbed worldly as well. We already know about that. But silver tongue was the other one I grabbed,
Mhm.
which you know how to wheedle both your lesser and peers, persuading those with silky words and flattery to act in your favor. So the effect is when you attempt to persuade those of a different social class other than your own, you get a +20 base chance to charm tests.
Nice.
So I have a quick question. A lot of these things are like wheedling, conversing, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
My crop-ear makes it so that like I can't, like I have to flip the results on anything that relies on hearing.
Yeah.
So would that affect people trying to convince me if I can't hear them?
Only if you can't hear them, but I would allow you to argue for a bonus to resist like a Banshee's Shriek or like stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking in terms
Feel
of
free
like
to
if
try to
someone-
position stuff fictionally, because for me, part of my job is, even though there's a baseline difficulty for all the roles in the game based on skills, part of my job is adjusting it up and down various percentages. So if you're like, I think because I can only hear out of one ear, maybe I have a bit. So yeah, feel free to leverage for advantage.
So
when
if
there are
someone's
situations.
trying to convince me with words, I can be like, "Hey, Adam, this thing exists," and then you'll choose whether or not it's relevant.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably be like, they could just talk into your other ear. It's fine. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. All right. So yeah, the only other things that I wanted to make sure we got a chance to talk about are fortune points and fate points and corruption. So fortune points, which are these bad boys right here. These are multi-side tokens that we're going to use. We begin every session with a number of them equal to the number of player characters +1. So that's why there's 5 there. You can spend them. They're a pool given to you. You spend them for your benefit. If you fail a skill test, you can spend one to reroll, unless it's a critical failure. During combat, you can spend a fortune point to get an additional action point on your turn. And immediately after rolling a d6 chaos or fury die, spend a fortune point to treat as a value of 6. Now, you all share these 5 together, and when they're gone, they're gone. And when you use them, let me show you the other side. They become misfortune points, and now they're for me. And then I use them, and then they go away. So every time you use one, you give it to me to use in similar circumstances, and then it vanishes, and then we restart at the beginning of the next episode. Yeah.
Cool. Good to know.
We restart with 5.
Yeah, it'll be 5 every episode, unless we're playing with the diminished cast. If somebody can't make it, it'll be 4.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
For sure.
So yeah, those will just continue to regenerate. You have either 1 or 2 fate points. These are, you'd have 1 by default. You'd have 2 if you took a drawback. These you can use to ignore any one injury on the when you roll an injury on the injury table, or the slain result. So as long as you have a fate point, you can't die. You just tell me, instead of dying, I'm going to spend my fate point, and we come up with what happens. And then once you've spent that last fate point, if you have 0, that's when you get stabbed to death by soldiers, or like shot when you're in wolf form and forced to hide for several weeks. It's a whole thing. So
I don't know what you're talking about.
So you get to use those. You have 1. You can get another one if your order or chaos alignment ever tips over 10. If you have 10 and we go over 1 more, you'll get another fate point.
We started with, if you had a drawback, you got an extra one.
You have an extra fate point. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I have 2.
So everybody with drawbacks can
Does that-
ignore death twice.
Does that count? Because I think your drawback was taken, like you needed to take it with your class.
Yeah, no, because Dawn has another one.
Yeah, I took.
Oh, you took 2?
sanguine- Yeah, I took sanguine temperament, so I got that Jimmy leg.
Okay.
That's right. You got the
I
wiggles.
Yeah.
got a black cataract, so I'm right there with you.
That's right. Yeah. I
Perfect.
think everyone has a drawback except Vander. Vander just has the one from the beginning.
I'm not about that life.
Yes, but also Vander isn't missing any limbs or traumatized by their
Yet.
life in so much yet. Yeah. So
I mean, she
the
was scarred and
other
feathered once.
the other thing I wanted to talk about are chaos offenses, which is a great phrase to say. So I've added all this stuff as handouts in Roll20, but chaos offenses come in 3 flavors: minor, middling, and major. And what's interesting about these is that chaos, on the one hand, so chaos represents, or corruption represents the vulnerability of a character to the effects of the demon lords and the demon princes and their various bad times. This can represent like physical mutation. It can also represent internal, degradation to the forces of chaos. But what's interesting about these things is that having violence done to you makes you vulnerable to chaos in the same way that committing violence does. But not necessarily evenly. So like if you suffer a moderate, severe, or moderate, serious, or grievous injury, then you also can suffer corruption. So these are suggested lists of things. We can play this a couple of ways. I'll be looking out for corruption offenses. But if somebody else does something and you're like, that seems like it's maybe worth some corruption, feel free to jump in and volunteer that. Also, if you're like, I'm doing this to gain corruption, if you're like, no, I'm angling to increase my chaos score, like, I think that I'm doing this because it's going to get me between 7 and 9 corruption. So The minor offenses are things like bullying the innocent, gaslighting a friend or loved one. I guess gaslighting strangers is okay. Grave robbing, thievery of the poor or underprivileged. You can steal from the rich people, no problem.
Good.
And then as it gets more serious, they tend to be more things like openly mocking the gods, murdering people, political assassination, betraying your friends. And then the big offenses are like binding an abyssal demon to your service, desecrating a holy place.
Okay. How openly does one have to mock the gods? Because I feel like
I mean, openly, like, so if like you stub your toe and you're like, fuck you, God, then you become corrupt just a little bit.
Okay.
Because the demons are like, that sounds great.
And this counts when we mock the God within, right?
I mean, the God within is really more of like a spiritual practice than a God necessarily.
I was just checking.
Now, remember, there's a difference between mocking someone's religious practices and mocking the gods. Mocking a person isn't going to get you anything. If you're just like, look at you stupid priest with your dumb frock. Nice frock, nerd. That's not going to get you corruption. But if you're like, the god that makes you wear this frock is a total loser, that's blasphemy. That's different. So
gods are all spiteful dicks and they're very petty.
Yeah, they
Right,
really are.
Petty.
Well, and this is the difference between the gods and the demon princes, right? Because the demon princes aren't gods. They're waiting for your faith to degrade so they can offer you a pretty dress and some butter and get you on your way. So
I wish I could have butter.
I love the taste of butter.
Who doesn't? Especially when you get it from a magical goat man. So I think that's all the homework stuff that I had, all of the previous business. We'll figure out the rules of the game, such as spell casting and getting in fights and dealing with peril and stuff as we encounter them. So we'll just do that as we begin. So let's set the scene, and then I'll get you all to describe your characters. So we fade in from the sort of opening, the intro, the credits. We fade in on a dark scene of a dark forest. We see these like large trees kind of painted in the background. There is light coming from above through the trees. It's clear that we're sort of at the edge of the woods. But behind the camera, further back, we see sort of darkness and tangle, but we're on a dirt road leading up out of these woods. And as the camera pans down, we hear the sound of footsteps, and we hear people walking through the wood, boots on like stone and on dirt. But above all of that, we hear what is only going to be you can only mistake it as whining. That's the only way to describe it. It's just somebody complaining loudly. And so we hear this voice being like, I'm not going to run, you don't have to bind my hands so tightly. I'm delicate. And besides, if you mistreat me, I'll remember. And when we get all of this cleared up, I'm going to remember, and I'm going to make sure you get what's coming to you. So you'd best let me loose, give me some food and water, and put me on my way. This is madness. I don't understand why you people have done this in the first place. And as we see, as we're panning down slowly, we see a noble. It's unmistakable. You can tell by his like slashed sleeves and his puffy shirt He at one point was probably wearing like a powdered wig, but it has now long abandoned his bald head. We see that his face is bloodied somewhat. There's blood, he had a bleeding nose at some point, and blood has dripped onto the silk front of his shirt. There's a tear in his doublet, and he is bound at the wrists by a thick length of rope. And we pan down over this noble whiner and follow the rope. Who is pulling this prisoner along? Who has been entrusted with the care of this guy? Who's got the rope?
Can I volunteer?
Yeah,
probably the muscle of our little unit. Yeah.
Okay. So we pan along this length of filthy rope, and then we see Lucia's hand. And as we pull back to get a view of Lucia, what do we see? You want to just describe her for us?
Right. So Lucia is for a human, I mean, I have to make the difference because we have an ogre in our party. For a human, extremely tall. She's about 6'2", and from the wrists up her arm, even wearing a long sleeved shirt, you can see the muscles in her arm as she tugs on the resisting noble. She's standing a little bit off to the left. She has the rope in her right hand and angling her body slightly so that her right ear is the one that's receiving all of this madness. And when you look up at her face, you can tell that it's going right over her head. She's not paying any attention at all. Probably aided by the fact that her right ear looks kind of malformed, a little damaged. She has very short, cropped, medium brown hair and dark green eyes. The clothes she's wearing, it looks like she's intentionally gotten it dirty. But it's underneath it.
Okay, everybody else is filthy too. So
yeah. Oh, but she definitely did it on purpose. Underneath it, it looks like it's made of some kind of fine fabric, and she probably tried to make it look a little less obvious. It's shining in green and gold underneath all of the dirt. She's absolutely massively built. She has heavy breasts and a large stomach and heavy thighs. But as she walks, there's a lightness of foot, as though underneath her flesh, there's muscle to support it. And she's just dragging this resisting noble who probably has absolutely nothing on her in terms of sheer strength, and not listening at all. She's pointing her deaf ear toward him to make it easier to just
right. Yeah.
listen.
So you're just I don't want to hear this. So yeah, he's trying to get your attention. And is he's talking to you particularly, but we hear it, but maybe Lucia doesn't register. But yeah, so we hear him in the background complaining about this treatment, and he says he's like, I'm very well connected. You have to trust me. I have many friends, vaults of gold, hidden gold no one knows about yet. None of these revolutionaries found it. It's just waiting for us. For you. Yes, for you. If you just let me go.
She does a little movement where she jerks her neck to one side and cracks it.
Yeah.
And then just continues forward, rolls her shoulders yeah, you want to talk to me more about how you have money? Sure.
Yeah. So that complaining, and I think maybe he says what if not gold, then influence. I could make you a duchess. You could have your own castle. I know one of the king's cousins. He escaped the purge. He's just waiting for loyal subjects to join him. This is all going to change. You're not as important as you think. And as he's saying that, we pan over to your character, Masood. Now, Masood, you hear this. You're Mr. Belvedere. You hear this complaining, right? This guy making these bold claims about oh yeah, I'm the king's second cousin, twice removed. But you know, right? That the royal family was they were the first to go, right? And
absolutely.
That these rumors they must be baseless. But what do you look like? What do we see? So we pan over from Lucia. And we see you walking sort of nearest enough. What do you look like?
So panning up from the ground, we see these thick, heavy black boots boots that are just splattered with mud as they're going along, going up to these like very thin pants that are black pinstriped that go to the waist, that tie with a nice little belt, leading up with this white cummerbund that is also now splattered with mud, leading up to a black bow tie and like a black waistcoats, but the tails of it are so long that they're trailing behind him.
They're all like ratty from dragging in the dirt all the time.
Absolutely. But also, here's the thing. They don't make clothes for Mr. Belvedere's size. He is 5'5" and 115 pounds sopping wet. He is a tiny 49-year-old old man with his hair is starting to gray a little bit. He's got this like kind of dark brown complexion, dark green eyes, except for his left one that's got a black cataract in it. So that's just like completely gone over. But they're underneath like half moon spectacles. He's got a mustache that has started to go gray that is like out to about here. And he's just like looking down and knows in his heart anything that this guy is saying is just a load of crap.
Nice. Yeah. I'm just imagining all of the enormous mustaches of the like the Sikh grandpas that live like really near me. And they're just like these big, beautiful, like gray mustache. Oh man. Yeah. So yeah, when it doesn't work on Lucia, you hear almost like a stage whisper from the noble who now, you know him to be your target, right? You're the person you have captured here. You're going to go turn him in. This is the Duke of Beetleborough. You know his name is Lord Victor Tweed, but no one else knows that. Everybody else knows him as the Duke of Beetleborough or Duke Beetleborough. But Lord Victor Tweed, he sort of stage whispers to you, and he's like, you there, you look like a good and noble servant. Why don't you come over here and let me go, and I'll take you to my friends. They could always use an upstanding chap like you. Someone to help, right? You're a helpful lad. Come on.
Sir, really? You would offer me such opportunity in a time of desperation as this? Why, yes, right. No, sir. No. Of course not.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
He fully goes like, he's just like, oh, finally, yes, let's go. And then you turn it on him and he's just like, well, I never. How dare you speak to me like that?
My goodness, Duke. Please, we're not in Beetleborough. Come along.
He kind of like impetuously sort of pulls on the rope a little, which I imagine Lucia does the like yank on the leash. And he stumbles and almost falls. And I think
immediately, just like so mockingly as he's going by.
Okay, yeah. So we cut over to you, and we see you. We get the reaction shot of the laugh, and at the sound of your laughing, I think we pan over, and then we look up. We look way up. So what is give us Dawn's full name and tell us what she looks like.
So Dawn's full name is the First Light of Dawn. Most ogres have names like this, kind of like the snow that melts the soonest, or the wind that, I don't know, sweeps across the plain, stuff like that.
Hi, I'm home on the range, and he's the deer and the antelope.
So again, you're panning up, and this 8'10", slender built ogre has you first notice her very, very high cheekbones. If I was to cast like an actress, she looks a lot like Nomi Rapace from short brow, incredibly high defined cheekbones, a sharp Romanesque nose, very strong jawline, and she's wearing close fitting, like tapered pants, and then a tunic that is long, goes down past her knees. So it's like a 6 foot long tunic.
Yeah, huge move.
Yeah. But it's split down the sides for easy movement.
Yeah.
And then there's like a cowl and a hood, and it's all very dark burgundy colored. And there's a symbol embroidered on the front of like a closed eye. And she is kind of like you see her kind of like fidgeting around as she's like, and then it pans back down to the ground, and she's like purposely trying to not get her feet dirty and mucky and muddy, and she's nervously just like looking around and just kind of grasping her hands, which if you look at them closely as she's holding them, they are a dark, it's like they're dipped in charcoal almost.
Oh, cool. It's a giant Stygian.
Yeah. Oh, and I forgot, she has really long, like super long black hair that's in a single braid.
Oh, cool. Okay. So the difference between, at a glance, between humans and ogres is just that ogres are, it's like Dark Souls. Ogres are just inexplicably large humans.
Yeah, I think so. And then maybe just like very like proportionally just strange looking, like wider set eyes and like I said, high cheekbones or skulls.
Oh, I like that. I like that the proportions are like more extreme than humans are. So it's like the uncanny valley if it was a mountain. Okay, cool. Yeah. So we see that. And you're mostly concerned with like the road and your travel through this wood and not so much with the prisoner?
Not so much prisoner, and just like making sure we're like looking around and that no one is hearing this loud whining man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, keep an eye out for things. Okay. Cool. And I think that we come over, we pan up, we see you sort of like fidgeting and looking around, and then we follow your gaze lingers for a moment on Vander, and the camera pans over to see what you're looking at. Andrew, what do we see?
You know, it's funny because everyone's like, Blue Jay's like, yeah, I'm really tall and really big, and then there's like an ogre. My character is also 6'2".
Yeah.
So it's just three enormous ladies and then this little tiny cartoon man escorting, like a parody of nobility. But yeah, so Vander is also very tall, but like whereas Lucia is like big and stocky, Vander is like quite thin and very kind of like angular and bony. She often gets mistaken for a man, in part because her name doesn't translate correctly, right? Like it sounds like a man's name in the local culture a lot of the time. And she like keeps her hair cut short and has a very like military kind of bearing. Probably looks more like a pirate or like a, like has that kind of vibe of like the
rakish, I think is the word you're looking for there. Yeah.
Yeah, she like wears a kind of loose silk shirt. She has gotten rid of most of the like more ornate fancy clothes and has this very like pared down look. Is like kept fairly clean as best as she can. And
unlike Lucia, who seems to like want to look dirty and messy. Yeah,
like she carries herself with a sort of noble bearing, even though she's not like putting on airs or whatever. Yeah, she's just like actually poised and elegant.
Yeah, somewhat. she's got gravitas.
Yeah, and I think we see her come into frame, and she's like striding quickly to the middle of the line so that she can smack the noble on the back of the head and shut him up, like just fucking brutally, like almost knocks him over, and just like
just shut up. Yeah, and so that's actually a great. Just like, yeah, it's such a good like shot balance too, because we cut in, right, and we follow the rope, and we get to Lucia, and then we come over to Mr. Belvedere, and then over to Don, and then when Don looks back to Vander tracks back through the line to the noble, and just like almost knocks him over, cuffing him on the back of the head. He shouts. There's like a high pitched yelp of surprise. Yeah, as you like hit him. I think there's a chance he just falls down anyway. So
she's going to basically catch him by his shirt regardless. Yes,
yeah. So we'll see if he recoils. Okay, so he doesn't fall, but he staggers, and then
she like wrenches him upright by the back of his shirt, like almost rips it, and just says, "Shut up," and then like gives him a little along to like keep him moving.
Yeah, and I think he scowls and he says, "You can neither speak to me that way nor lay hands on me, peasant! How dare you?"
I speak over the noble when they start to speak, and I address Vander, and with a kind of like slower voice, because I can't really hear myself talk either. I ask, "Do you want me to shut him up?" And she looks like extremely earnestly at you, like I could just,
Yeah, and Vander like lets that hang in the air for a moment, looks back down to Lord Tweed, whatever the fuck.
Yes.
And just says
Tweed.
Lord, yeah, his
Victor
family.
Tweed.
Yeah, see, this is the thing about like naming conventions. He is Duke Beetleborough or Lord Beetleborough. His given name is Victor, but no one except maybe his wife would have used that.
Yeah, no one would actually call him
Tweed
that.
is his family name, but that sort of becomes irrelevant when he has a title. Like he wouldn't be Lord Tweed. He's Lord Victor Tweed, who happens to be the Duke of Beetleborough or Duke Beetleborough. But in this case, if you want to call him, if you knew, I think only Mr. Belvedere knows that his name is Victor Tweed. The rest of you
I'm
know
not
him
even.
as-
I'm not going to address him by anything. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So she like lets it hang in the air and then turns down to him and just says, "Oh, I can't imagine that will be necessary."
And he looks at you and he I don't know. Let's make a roll. Let's have you intimidate him. I'll give you a big bonus, but let's have you make that roll to do that.
I am helping with my intimidate
Yes.
and my menacing presence.
So
And
it's
my
gonna
mocking
be.
laugh.
I love that intimidate is about brawn. That you don't have to have charisma to scare somebody. So yeah, make an intimidation test. I think this is Vander making the test. And then does anybody know offhand how does helping work? Is it just a flat
I have to have the
percentage?
skill,
Yeah.
and I do have it.
Yep.
And let me just check.
It's a good thing one of us does.
Do you not have this? You don't have intimidation?
Yeah.
I am a charming and sophisticated individual. who
True.
never
Yeah,
needs
you'd
to
have
lean
no
on that
reason.
kind of
You'd have no
thing.
reason to. Exactly. Yeah.
I have all the other social skills.
So to assist, I think you just have to have the skill rank in that relevant skill.
Yeah.
And then you give them one of
Oh,
your
I give them one of my
your
die.
Yeah.
Right.
And
How
then
does
they
that
can
work?
and then they can replace the 10's die result of the next skill test they make. Okay.
So if I go ahead and roll intimidate,
Yeah.
and then Blooge can just roll an extra die and
Roll a
if it's
d10
better.
and then
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, right. Okay.
Cool.
Makes
Interesting.
sense.
Okay.
Then I'll do that.
All
So
right.
I can replace the tens. You can replace the tens die with my die if you would like. Is that the
Yeah.
thing?
Do I have any situational modifiers here?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Give yourself an extra 20.
Great.
Because he's on a rope.
Yeah, he's not in.
Well,
any
he's a
position
prisoner,
to-
right? And it's just like, is it wise for him to continue lipping off or not? Right? You're basically trying to tell him like, shut your damn mouth. Okay. So here's how this shakes out. So you got you have a brawn of 48. You have a modifier of 20, which means your rating is 68. You rolled a 62, which is really good. Basically, what you want to do is your best result here would be like a 66, and that is the closest matching number to the rating. But anything below the rating is a success. So in this case, that 3 isn't gonna, like a 32 is not any better than a 62 for you.
Right. It would
Right,
also be a
but
success, but it doesn't improve.
Yes,
my-
but if you'd rolled a 30 or a
2, if
60,
I'd
a
rolled a 2.
63, then you could swap it out and it would be a 33 and that'd be a crit.
which is a crit, right?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. All right.
So in the future, the person just rolls a d10 and you can swap the number out
Yes.
for the
That's a really cool way of doing help. That's neat.
Very
Instead of
dope.
just giving you a flat bonus. Okay, so it works. So the two of you menace this guy, this sweaty, formerly powdered dude, and he just clams up. He just swallows loudly and like looks at you with his big watery gray eyes and just shakes his head like, okay, I'm sorry, I won't say anything.
And then Vander turns back to Lucy and just says, "You know, I could make you a duchess too," and winks at her and then keeps walking.
You see like the dimples in her cheek appear. Like she has like really big full cheeks and a round face, and you see like dimples in her cheek appear, and then she blushes a little and turns back to the road.
Okay, perfect. So you continue. You're heading north out of a forest whose name is, like everything else around here, somewhat confused. Most people know this as the King's Wood. You're on the northern road through the King's Wood, headed back, right? So you're heading south, and in a few hours, you should arrive in what was formerly called the city-state of Imperial Esperine, But now there's new names for everything. There's a new calendar. There's new tales. So this is no longer the Kingswood. This is the Forest of Fallen Patriots. And once you leave the Forest of Fallen Patriots, you will make your way to the free city of Philos, which was the former capital of the city-state of Imperial Esperine, but is now a free republic in and of itself. So you're on your way out of the woods. The trees are starting to thin. There is the air itself is quite chilly. Like you can see your breath. And you know that it's cold because up until he was intimidated into silence, your prisoner was complaining that you had absconded with him from his manor prior to allowing him to get his coat, at least. And what an undignified journey this is. I think that as you continue, he lags behind enough to get him some slack from you, Lucia.
Sure.
Such that he can sidle up to Mr. Belvedere, and quietly at some point a little ways down the road, as you're just sort of exiting the forest, he says to you, he leans over to you, Mr. Belvedere. You've noticed he's like walking beside you, and he leans over and he says, "Now I can tell, sir, that you are cut from different cloth than the rest of these bandits. Now, I'm willing to forgive the many, many crimes against both our Lord God and nature for what you've done to me. I'm willing to let it all go. In your case and your case alone. What I promised before, I swear on my great aunt's grave, God rest her soul, that I do indeed know of the location of some very important members of the royal family who escaped the terrible purges and are indeed just waiting for loyal subjects, such as myself and you. I would be willing to put a word in for you. It's not, but as I understand it, some days travel from here. We could escape. We could flee into the woods, and I could show you the way. It would be worth your while, I assure you.
Sir, that's a fascinating tale, but what's to say the moment I free you, you won't leave immediately and tuck me away all on my own, alone in these woods? Why don't you tell me where they are and how to get there? And that way we both can travel together. And I want to charm him into delivering this information to me.
Okay. Well, so first, I think there's a role here about what you know, because this is your jam, right? Rumors and secret business.
Absolutely.
So I'm not totally on the. Let me look at the skill list here. Don, I'm gonna borrow your character sheet for a second. If something changes, that's how it goes. Let's see. So, rumor. Oh, it's just flat out just a skill. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you have an ability that allows you to like flip to succeed on rumor, something like that.
It is the worldly ability, which I believe it just gives a plus 20 base chance.
Yeah, what's your
town gossip.
Town gossip. That's the one I was thinking of. Yeah. So what does that one do?
That one, let's see.
Because I think you're entitled to a bonus here upon being regaled with this secret story.
It is when you fail an eavesdrop or rumor test, you may reroll to generate a better result.
Oh,
but
perfect.
you must.
Okay. So make a rumor test right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you a 10, a bonus of 10, because it's like it's a rumor about something pretty significant. So yeah, so make that rumor test, and if you don't like it, you get a reroll. So
for the situational modifier, I would put plus 10.
Yeah, just put 10. The plus and a percent sign don't need to be in there because they'll just.
Gotcha.
I think they'll just bonk it. So
perfect.
All right, you got it. Perfect. Okay, so yeah, this guy's pretty full of shit, right? Mm-hmm. Like there is a persistent rumor that has never been proven that some royal family member, a lot of the time, depending on how you want, like the audience, some royal family member escaped. Like in some stories, it's an infant princess that was like spirited away and lives among the ogres now. But in others, it's like the king isn't really the king. He actually got away and it was his double or his like evil twin or something that was captured. Mm-hmm. So like there are all these stories, but in your considered circles, mostly they're assumed to be total BS. So yeah, so he's probably lying. Now, that being said, you can charm him into believing that you are on his side, right? You want him to tell you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I still want to go on with it. Well, why don't you tell me more about what, like, let him feed this like story, like force him to now lie.
Yeah, like
build
really
this.
lean in and just be
Yeah.
like, so, okay. All right.
And now let's make a charm roll.
Yeah, make that charm roll. And I don't think there's any, there's no situational bonuses, I don't think, for this one.
Gotcha. I believe with Silver Tongue, I do get a plus to 20 if he's a different class than me. But I don't think that would.
You know what? I don't think he is. I think you're both aristocrats, right?
Oh, yes. You're absolutely right.
Okay, so you got an 83, which is very high, which in this case is bad because the fellowship rating is 40. So he kind of like leans back and squints at you. And it's not that he thinks you're lying or trying to trick him. It's that he's not willing to. He's like, my hands first, sir. And then on my word, as a member of the grand nobility that has ruled over this kingdom for nigh unto 1,000 years, I swear I will tell you everything in exchange for my freedom.
So you make an excellent point. Why don't I? No, sir. Continually, it will always be no. And like just like speeds up.
Yeah, so he's just like, fine, and you can see him just like give up on you.
Yeah.
Now, Dawn, you were saying that you're kind of like keeping an eye on things, right? Looking out over your companions and keeping an eye on stuff. Why don't you make a roll? Let's figure out how this game does perception. So, is there a perception skill first and foremost?
I think it's just perception awareness.
Awareness, that's the one. Right. So awareness is noticing stuff that's going on around you. Scrutinize is directly observing stuff and trying to like puzzle it out. I think that's the difference between
Scrutinize is mostly about people.
That's right. Yes, that's right. Yes. You are aware of the environment, but you scrut the booty. Good. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah. So like, especially when Mr. Belvedere was like, no, sir. Like, Dawn's like,
I say to you, good day.
Yeah. I was like, oh, shh. And I'm like looking around. And so, yes, so I just click the awareness, right?
Yeah. So
no modifier, nothing.
There's no modifiers. Okay.
Ooh.
All right. There's just so many places for things to hide around
There's a
here.
lot of trees in this forest, casting lots of shadows, spooky ones.
Yeah, so there could be people hiding just about everywhere. Thankfully, the people that are hiding and waiting for you are not doing so to ambush you, because you see in front of you who's in the lead of this train. Is it Vander or it's Lucia?
Unless Vander has gone in front of me.
I think she walked
she
ahead.
had? Okay.
Yeah.
Then Vander.
I will expose myself to this danger.
Okay. All right. So you're up front. So you see this then. So there is a crossroads where there's like a smaller kind of hunter's path that leads into a different part of the woods, and then the main path that you are walking up. And at that crossroad, there are some people. You see a wagon first, small wagon, like a person, kind of like almost like a glorified wheelbarrow. So a wooden wagon, and it's got something on it, and it has a filthy cloth draped over it. So that's sitting there. And then you see three, I don't know how to say this other than there's filthy peasants. They just look like filthy peasants. They're wearing those cloth shoes. And they have like tattered linen like pants. They have tabards. It is impossible to determine anything about their age or gender from this distance, and the fact that they're covered in muck.
Same.
I think. Yeah, right. Gender is something that is afforded to people who are able to bathe and choose their own clothes. Let me see if these three, there's four figures. I'll finish describing these ones, but they all have pitchforks. They are holding pitchforks. That is the important thing to remember here. So all three of them holding pitchforks. One of them has like a floppy hat. So there's them, and they are kind of like quietly talking amongst themselves. And then next to them, doing what I can only describe as like calisthenics, maybe like stretching, like leg lunges and like arm, like old person calisthenic or exercise. Like if you saw this guy in a city park at like 7 a.m, he wouldn't seem out of place. But instead of wearing like a jogging suit, he is wearing a very ratty version of a like knight's garb. And maybe Mr. Belvedere, you're the only one that see this, but at one point it was bright alternating stripes of like bright blue and red. There is a faded coat of arms on the front. This man is probably in his like mid to late 50s. And he has a big Wilford Brimley mustache that just hangs down. And then probably until recently, he had a clean shaven face, but now he has both a fine layer of white stubble and basically no chin whatsoever. It's like his face is just a straight line from his forehead down to his knees. And he's like doing stretches and then he looks over, and I think that Vander, you and him see each other at the same moment. What do?
Hello, stranger. Friend, I hope.
And
she like
he
doffs a hat she doesn't have. Like
and he kind of starts a little bit like and he turns and he points at one of the peasants and he says you my hat, and one of the peasants is like, right sir, right, and grabs from the cart, pulls out an enormous felt hat and hands it to him. He takes it and he kind of shakes it, and then he pulls up on a feather that's sticking out of it, and he kind of like puts it on top of his head, and then he sees you, right? Puffs up his chest a little bit, and then he takes the hat off and then bows. And then he puts the hat back on, and he says, I see that you are the ones we've been waiting for. I would have Parlay with you, madam.
like Vander like looks back at the squad.
I assume at this point I'm like slowing to a stop beside you because we've stopped now.
I like how you describe yourself like you're a large boat or a train. Like I start to decelerate a little bit.
Yeah, and Vander like puts a hand out to kind of like give you pause, right? And then just like to you is like, I'll take care of this, and like walks over to this man.
Mr. Belvedere recognize him?
I think you could make a roll to try to figure that out. Yeah.
What would it be?
That's a great question. Let's take a look.
If it's scrutinize, I automatically succeed.
Yeah, I think scrutinize is for figuring out like things about him. You could scrutinize him as well. It might just be a rumor test.
Scrutinize represents the ability to understand motives and underlying intention.
Yes, it's insight in that regard. But I think first, there's two questions, right? There's what's this guy about, but there's also who the hell is this? So you might be able to get some advantage. Let me see. It's either rumor or folklore.
I was gonna say I'm making an argument for folklore because if he's wearing his nice garbs, I might recognize like
he's like a local.
That's general broad knowledge of the world around you.
Is that folklore? Okay.
It represents both secondhand and first person knowledge of histories, traditions, faith, and notable figures of a particular region.
Stuff you know. Okay, so make a folklore test here.
Okay.
And
situational modifier
recognize him.
0.
No, give yourself 10. Give yourself 10% bonus.
Can I?
I don't think it would have helped.
Yes, Vander, you can help.
Basically,
if you have folklore, you're
right?
welcome to jump in.
Got it.
Oh, well, I don't have folklore.
You have to have the
skill.
Yeah.
I have folklore.
Do you? Okay. All right.
Yes.
Yeah. Make a.
So meanwhile, behind me, there's the huddle of like, who the fuck is this guy?
So I'll do it with a situational modifier of 10.
Yeah. So you're gonna roll. You're gonna add a situational modifier of 10, which will bump you up to 64, I think. And then Dawn will roll a d10 and we'll see because you can.
Let's hope it's a 5 or 4 or less. Oh my God, it is.
Nice.
So it's a
18.
1. Yeah, it's a 1, which means yes, this brings this down to 18. Okay.
Whoa.
So with help,
Well done.
that's good help because it turns a
Very good help.
98 into an 18. That's very
Yeah.
good help. That's the best kind you can
Yeah,
do.
I lean so far over down to whisper and consort with Mr. Belvedere.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Because you see Belvedere giving him the like, who the hell, whomst is this? Whose man is that? Look like, and then you're like, I know, I see him too.
Yeah, I saw him doing stretches. He must have blah blah blah.
But
Do you recognize him because of his yoga technique?
The
His
stretches
yoga
at the park.
techniques.
I was gonna ask. Is that it?
Oh no! So it's like a kung fu movie, but with yoga instead of kung fu. Where you're like, he's using crane stance, which is only taught in the
Yes.
Valley of the White Flither. Yeah. Okay. Good. Into it. So yeah, you recognize it. He this guy, you recognize him. He is Sir Huxley Goldsworth. He is a knight. And he is the sworn knight and servant of the Duke of Beetleborough.
Oh man.
Jeez.
Yeah. So now before we, so as he steps out, I need to ask you a few questions about the capture of the Duke Beetleborough. So who planned the kidnapping? Who was it that like came up with the plan? Which one of you is the one who was like, here's how we're going to do it?
Maybe Mr. Belvedere.
I was gonna say.
I was
yeah.
gonna say it's
I was like,
Mr.
look,
Belvedere.
Maybe
Look,
the
there's-
two of us have.
There's
like,
an
this
asshole.
shared
This
hit list.
Duke of Beetleborough. Really, he should be such an easy catch.
Yeah, because the two of us know all these people from our like previous lives. So I feel like the two of us hatch these plots together where we're like, oh, who should we go after next? And we each have our own personal vendettas, I'm sure, which are separate.
So Beetleborough earned his fortune, and this is how you put these things together. Beetleborough earned his fortune by controlling an area of the woods where this very specific iridescent blue bug like lives, and where they have their hives and stuff. And so his fortune was capturing them and then grinding their shells into a powder to make this very expensive blue dye. And he uses the blue dye in everything. And so that's part of what trigs you in, where you're like, wait a second, old guy,
with
blue,
heraldry.
like in this area, that helps you figure out who that is. But so Mr. Belvedere, your job was to like plan part of the thing. And then Vander, maybe you helped. Is that what that's what we think?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I did the punching.
we'll get to that. Yeah. So let's make it a, let's see what role, maybe not warfare necessarily. I need like a tactics, like a planning role.
Leadership, probably.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. Do either of you have leadership?
I mean, Mr. Belvedere is a natural leader.
But I don't have it, and my fellowship is 40 guys. We got to really think about this.
So on the character sheet here, there are a couple of skills. Oh, the special skills are marked with a star, so you can't. I see. Okay. All right. So just make a fellowship test then. And there's no help to be had because you're both kind of helpless in this regard. Okay. Yes. All right. So 53. The plan. Okay. So you tell me, Mr. Belvedere, there was one key thing. I don't need to know the whole plan. What was the part where the plan came apart? What was the thing that you missed or forgot or that got screwed up in the plan?
Honestly, it was that this person, Lord Huxley, this Knight Huxley would be around.
Oh, you expected him to be there and he wasn't.
Yeah, and he was gone. And we're like, oh, what a good turn of events. Awesome. Let's keep moving. Yeah, it's so easy. We just grab it. Yeah.
Okay. So then instead there was, right. So Goldsworth was off doing something. Yeah. And then the Lord of the House, I think, had hired a better bodyguard, someone you actually had to deal with. He'd hired like a mercenary or something. So I guess the next question then, if Mr. Belvedere made the plan, who was like responsible for getting rid of that bodyguard? And how did you? Yeah, it was Lucia. So Lucia, did you just fight him?
Uh-huh.
Could I have supported her, Lucia? Like,
oh, you come along. You're really big.
Yeah, well, I don't really punch so much, but I could make you like unlock your potential.
You can make me better at punching?
I can't.
I sure can.
I couldn't
Oh my
fight.
God.
I couldn't fight with you, but I could rub your shoulders first and maybe
I
splash you with
will-
some water.
Yeah, I could cast magic on her too.
I do the Vaseline on the eyebrows.
Necessary.
Okay.
Necessary.
So, I mean, if you want to, if that's a thing that you did. So, what you have a ritual that would make Lucia better at fighting?
Yeah, so I took the Invoke Fury spell, but I switched it to Look Within.
Mm-hmm.
So
When it comes to Lucia, all there is inside is fury. So,
Yeah.
so there you go. And
That's
so
perfect.
basically, all I would do is like draw like like take this crushed up powdery paint stuff, and I draw a
Simba.
yes, exactly, a closed eye, and yeah, it basically what happens to it does what does it do? Yeah, I give you the gift of retribution, and it adds fury die.
Yes,
Sick.
awesome. Okay, so Dawn empowered you with magic, and you tangled with this strange mercenary that this guy had hired. Let's see how it went. So you beat the guy, obviously, but I want to see how you came out. So
Okay.
let's have you roll I assume it was melee. You fought him with your cudgel. Okay, so make a simple melee test.
Any modifiers? It just gives you fury die for that?
Yeah, don't
right?
worry about it for damage. Let's translate that into an extra 10. Oh, wow, you got a 5.
I got a
Oh
Five.
my god!
Okay, so you trounce the dude. You didn't suffer any physical peril or wounds in the process.
I feel like what happens like with this like massive fury die bonus, whatever that ends up being, is that like Lucia looks within and finds the like absolute madness and violence inside of her, and she can't stop hitting him and probably has to get like told to stop by Dawn.
Okay. So yeah, you had to get dragged off of this dude.
Yeah.
I could just make you go to sleep.
Did you kill him?
Unless Dawn pulled me off before I did. Yes.
Do we want him to die? The bodyguard?
I think if Lucia made his face a red mush, that is perfectly fine. And
I mean, that feels really
people.
good for me, according to like how my character balances between ferocity and hatred. If you gave me extra mad,
yeah,
I just went at him. And
so he did die.
I would say.
Yeah.
Okay. And Dawn, you could have stopped Lucia, but chose not to.
Yeah, I let it happen.
Okay,
I
all right.
watched
Lucia, take 3 corruption. Dawn, take 1 for the assist.
So where do we put the corruption? Is that like that's not K? Oh, right there. I see.
There's
Just
right
a
in the
big
middle.
empty hole.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
big 0. Because we're gonna check chaos at the end of the session. Okay, all right, yeah. So you just brutally punched this dude to death, cudgeled him to death. And then after that, it was relatively easy to capture this guy and drag him away. Okay, all right. So he knows then that you killed him, but Huxley doesn't. Okay, all right. So we cut back to the present, and Vander, you sort of step forward, and the old knight puts a hand up and he says, "Come no further, madam. I have quarrel with you and your brigand friends, and I would have my honor addressed. I demand satisfaction."
Did
And
he
she
just?
kind of cocks a grin.
Did he just say that he wore a dress?
Not
I
now. I'm negotiating, and she turns back.
Yeah. Shut up. I'm negotiating.
Well, sir, in what way might I satisfy you?
I'm afraid for the kidnapping of my good and noble lord. Hello, my lord. Yes. Yes, we're right in the midst of rescuing you, sir. Yes, don't worry. Yes, that's right. Yes, Daryl and Borscht and the other one and I. Yes, we've hatched a plan. Worry not, sir. And then he leans back. And the more I play this character, the more I realize that he's just a Monty Python character, which I'm going to just go with. It's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
So he looks back at you and he says, I am afraid, madam, there is only one way I can gain my satisfaction, and then that is by your releasing of my lord and master, the Duke. And if you refuse, I am afraid that my personal honor demands that we duel. And he looks over, and the three the three peasants are standing there, and one has their like finger almost all the way up their nose, and the other two are like looking at the one with his finger up his nose, like, whoa, it's so far up there. And he turns and he goes, and one of them was like, and like grabs, and this is where things maybe get interesting, grabs a lacquered box from under the cart and comes over and brings it to the knight. And the knight looks as the peasant fumbles with the latch and opens it. And inside there are two somewhat weathered, medium quality pistols. In this box.
He wants to do the like step away. I have an idea.
And so he looks at you and he says, either you release my lord, or you and I, or whichever you wish to be your champion, must duel. What say you?
I turn around to the other members of the party, and because I kind of probably assume a little bit that like I've always had a bad ear, so maybe I don't understand exactly what like natural hearing would be. So I say probably a little too loudly, like, what if I just go up there and right?
I mean, yes, but he does have that pistol right there.
And so Vander just says, well, I mean, we're not done kidnapping him yet, but I suppose, and like walks over, like, let me see what you've got there. Maybe this will be suitable.
No. Let me engage. You know, the old, there was a rumor of a man named Oddjob who made it who won many a duel. Could not be hit because of his sachet.
Yes, I heard about his duel with Orimov the Tall.
Yes, and Jaws.
This is a reference to Jace, right? That I'm not understanding.
No, it's a Goldeneye.
No, we're making bad Goldeneye jokes.
So Vander walks over
I
and
watched half of that
under the pretext of like, okay, yeah, let's duel, but like I want to see what you're gonna give me to shoot.
Yeah, so you come over and are you? I guess I want to know whether I need to know whether or not, like if he rolled to scrutinize you to see if like I want to know if he should be like, that's very close enough, madam, or whether you just schmooze. I think there's a roll here. I'm feeling there's some tension.
I was going to say, can I like,
do you want to roll to like schmooze up to him and be like,
so that I can just be like, cool, here's the gun. Oh, it's loaded. Great. Bang.
Yes. The smart thing to do is to not let you anywhere near the guns. And if you would like to try to convince him to like let you in. Yeah. How do you do that?
Yeah. So she just like is playing into his expectations of like, oh yes, well, we're going to do this, settle this like gentlemen. Oh, pip, pip, et cetera, et cetera. Well, like she knows that whole process. She has probably done this at least once before. And so she just comes over very matter of factly, just like, all right, okay, well, we're definitely going to duel then. And that's fine. But I just want to, I need to see what I'm going to be packing here. If I'm going to duel you, I just I think she sees the guns in the box and just goes like, oh, what make are those? Oh, who did that? Like,
yeah, right.
And
well, and at this point, like, it's not unusual for a noble. Like, these are not Sir Huxley's guns. They're almost certainly, they belong to his lord and they managed to get it out of the house or whatever. Yeah. So it's not unheard of for somebody like the Duke Beetleborough to own like firearms, but they're also quite expensive and handmade, right? There's no mass production yet. So Even the worst guns are expensive guns right now. So
I got the money signs in my
stroll
eyes.
over there. Yeah. Okay. All right. So what do you think the skill is for?
I mean, I'm using guile here.
Yeah, it sounds like guile to me, right? Too. Yeah.
Which is like, lying, manipulating, conning people.
So if I remember to do this will be a really good bit. But what I need to do is just get the first few notes of Guile's theme, put it on my soundboard, and just play it every time you use this skill.
Perfect. Do it.
All right. So you stride up. Go ahead and roll your guile. I think he's suspicious of you. So give yourself a -10. Give yourself a 10 on the. I guess is there 2 prompts or just 1 when you
There's
go to?
Just
can
one.
you just
so
adjust?
I think -10 will do it if you put in -10.
Would you be able to just adjust the difficulty rating chart on the character sheet to -10?
Let me see.
And then roll. Does that change?
Oh,
it?
yeah, that does it too. Yes, yeah, that's actually what you should do. Oh, so it's difficulty first. You set it on your sheet. Then I'll tell you any situational
Then it's a
adjustment to that.
modifier,
Yeah, so
yeah.
the difficulty of this is challenging. It is a -10. So set that on the sheet.
Where does difficulty live?
It's at the very top, but underneath the background names and stuff, there's a bunch of dots. It says difficulty rating chart. Trivial, easy,
Oh,
or
I see.
standard.
So challenging.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
All right.
All right, let's see if we can beguile this dude.
Sick.
You can indeed.
Yeah,
you
get fucked
can.
up, man.
Excellent. Okay. All right.
So I think maybe she knows like just enough about guns to say some words that suggest that she knows what she's talking about. Around like, oh, those are lovely specimen. Like, what a fine specimen. Or this by like John Wilkes and so, and she like walks over.
John Wilkes.
Yes, he definitely made the gun.
Oh my god, I love it.
Yes.
So this is gonna become canon now. It's brothers. It's like Wilkes and
Yeah, Wilkes and
Booth?
something or other.
well, no, we need another like assassin. What's his name? Who shot JFK? What the hell is that guy's name?
Oswald.
Right,
Yeah.
Wilkes and Oswald.
Oswald.
All right, Wilkes and Oswald gunsmith. Perfect. Okay, so they
And
operate
just,
out of the
like,
city. They're very famous.
Casual as you like while making small talk, she like walks over, like does a little like may I hands, gets consent, picks one up, and then still small talking, just like casually shoots him in the head.
face.
Like just
Okay.
while the gun just
Perfect.
kind of moves casually this way and like trigger pull mid.
Yeah. And
Oh
what
my
he
God.
he probably as you come up, he fidgets, right? He's just like, careful with that. They're very delicate. You see, and you shouldn't point the and then you're just like
In fact, yeah, if he's hesitating, she's just like, oh no, I've seen plenty of these before.
blam. All right. So I'll get you to roll your shoot an old man in the face roll after we take our first break.
Perfect.
So so Vander turns, weapon in hand, ready to go, and we cut to break. So stick around. We'll be right back with part 2 of today's episode of Eat the Rich. Don't go anywhere.